Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Webster, and I'm one of the co-founders of Erasmus Plus Youth Academy. In this academy, we have several challenges how to write Erasmus Plus Youth projects. And in this challenge, we are talking about KA2 Small-scale Partnerships. This format and this action is quite new in Erasmus Plus, which started with a new program in 2021. The program will last until 2027, and so far we know that the small-scale partnerships will be available during all this period. If you're already here, then you must know a little bit about Erasmus Plus Youth Program, but if not, we will remind you. So Erasmus Plus is the EU program in the fields of education, training, youth and sport, and the new program works from 2021 until 2027. Education, training, youth and sport are the key areas that support citizens in their personal and professional development. High quality inclusive education and training, as well as informal and non-formal learning, ultimately equip young people and participants of all ages with the qualifications and skills needed for their meaningful participation in democratic society, intercultural understanding, and successful transition into the labor market. There are several priorities which are highlighted in the new Erasmus Plus 2021-2027 program. The main four priorities are inclusion and diversity, digital transformation, environment and fight against climate change, and participation in democratic life. So, which means that all your projects, with all the problems you would like to solve on your local, national, or international level, should have one or several of these priorities. The main difference between Key Action 1 and Key Action 2 is that in Key Action 1, we have mobilities for individuals. It might be young people, it might be youth workers, it might be any stakeholders who are involved in youth work. But in Key Action 2, now we're talking about cooperation among organizations and institutions. So any partnerships, any cooperations, any collaborations which you have will be with one or several institutions or organizations. These organizations and institutions can have very different forms, even from public institutions, for non-formal education organizations, to even social enterprises, and sometimes governmental organizations. In the field, who can be involved in Key Action 2 projects, also in small scale and of course in large ones, is quite large. So what could be your Key Action 2 project outcomes? What are those projects? What are you going to work on? So, and why Erasmus Plus program should support your ideas and those problems which we would like to solve. So the main things which are important to remember about Key Action 2 projects, including small ones, which we're talking about here, are innovative approaches for addressing their target groups, more modern, dynamic, committed and professional environment inside the organization, increased capacity and professionalism to work at EU or even wider international level, increased awareness of the role of sport in promoting social inclusion, equal opportunities and healthy lifestyle. So Key Action 2 small-scale partnerships should attract and widen access for newcomers, less experienced organizations and small-scale actors to the program. These partnerships should act as a first step for organizations into cooperation at European level. Also, they should support the inclusion of target groups with fewer opportunities, support active European citizenship and bring to the European dimension to the local level. Which means that Probably you already worked with Key Action 1 projects. Maybe you did some exchanges, training courses, events, or maybe you've never done anything international, but you did a lot of work locally. And this is the time for you to go into the international cooperations between several organizations. In this case, this small-scale partnership is for you, because the priority, of course, is given to those who would like to try to go into international cooperations without having too many obstacles, which were very scary before, like, for example, huge application forms or very detailed reporting, huge responsibility for the outcomes you would like to have with your partners. So this format is very good for you to try if the international partnerships and cooperations are for you, because there are many simplified procedures. But don't forget that you should definitely think about the priorities and the inclusivity of all organizations and target groups. If we talk a little bit in more details about the partnerships, then you should have at least one horizontal priority and at least one specific priority relevant to the field. Those priorities you can find in the application form or the Erasmus Plus guide. The transnational project, like a small-scale partnership, should have at least 2 organizations from 2 different program countries. Partner countries can also be involved as partners, not as applicants, and only on the case that their participation brings an essential value to the project. So if you will include partner country partner, you should have a really huge reason to do so. You have to explain it very in many details for assessors to see that actually, yes, without this partner, this project will not have so much impact or value. Another small detail is that duration should be from 6 months until 24 months, which is also quite simplified if we compare this to large projects. There are several deadlines a year. Some national agencies just have 2, and some have additional deadline, and which makes them 3 deadlines. About the budget is again very simplified, because you have only 2 options of the lump sums: 30,000 or 60,000 euros. In the project description, you should have objectives, proposed activities, and expected results. And of course, this budget must list all the planned project activities and indicate the portion of the grant allocated to each activity. As all key actions in Erasmus Plus Youth, each of them have their own objectives. Key Action 2 Small-scale Partnership objectives are to attract and widen access for newcomers, less experienced organizations, and small-scale actors to the program. These partnerships should act as a first step for organizations into cooperation at European level. This means that even if you have already done some Key Action 1 activities and mobilities for individuals, or maybe you have never done any international work, but you're active on local, national level, then these partnerships and these opportunities are for you. Because when assessors will look at the application forms, the first choice will be for newcomers and less experienced organizations. Also, another objective is to support the inclusion of target groups with fewer opportunities. Support active European citizenship and bring the European dimension to the local level. Increasing quality in the work and practices of the organizations and institutions involved, opening up to new actors not naturally included within one sector. One of other objectives is to build capacity of organizations to work transnationally and across sectors, which means that you can include more stakeholders in your partnerships, for example, like businesses, like public institutions. You can start working internationally and transnationally. Also, don't forget to address common needs and priorities in the field of education, training, youth and sport, because that's what the Erasmus Plus program is about. And the last objective is to enable transformation and change at individual, organizational, and sectoral level, leading to improvements in proportion to the concept of each organization. So all these projects have to give you more capacity, more results, more skills, more opportunities after the project will finish. In the application form about objectives, you will have a question. What are the concrete objectives you would like to achieve and outcomes or results you would like to realize? How are these objectives linked to the priorities you have selected? So please, before you start the application form, try to brainstorm, try to think about objectives very thoroughly, because this question is very, very important. I would like to give you an example of one of our KA2 projects. Recently, we started a project which was KA2 Small-scale Partnership, and the name is Level Up. The objectives of this small 20-month project are to learn more about the community development principles and adapt the relevant principles to the work of partners. Level up and mentor 4 international NGOs and communities to get to a higher and wider level in their youth activities, both local and international. And raise the topic of the importance of community development and introduce the tools to youth work networks and umbrella organization. As you see, they're quite vague. However, if we talk next, we will talk about more details. So we're going to raise the quality of the local and the international youth work in the communities by adding at least 10 new activities in each of the organizations. We will develop a useful and interactive digital and print guide, 101 ideas of youth and community development, which will be produced and disseminated. And we think that we can manage 600 print copies and 1,000 digital copies during 20 months. But these, of course, can be reused after the project will finish. Another very important objective is to reinforce synergies between partner organizations for future international cooperation. And of course, to get the first KA2 small-scale experience to broaden work horizons. So what are your project objectives? Are you ready to think about them? Let's start.